Rome was not just a city, it was a living monster of power that slowly grew out of fear, ambition, and war, and it began around 753 BC on the muddy banks of the Tiber River, where a small group of villagers built wooden huts, never imagining that their settlement would one day command the world. At first ruled by cruel kings, the Romans eventually overthrew their last tyrant and created the Republic, a system built on the Senate, consuls, laws, and the belief that no man should ever be king again. But as Rome expanded through bloody wars and brutal conquests, it fought Carthage in the legendary Punic Wars, defeated the brilliant enemy General Hannibal, and emerged as the strongest military power in the Mediterranean. And with that power came pride, and with that pride came corruption, as powerful generals gathered loyal armies and began fighting not for Rome, but for themselves. Among them rose Julius Caesar, a man loved by soldiers and feared by the Senate, who crossed the Rubicon River in open defiance and marched on Rome itself, crushing his enemies and declaring himself dictator for life, a title that terrified the very men who once called him friend, until on the Ides of March he was surrounded inside the Senate and stabbed 23 times, his blood spilling across the Senate floor. And with his death, Rome fell again into chaos, as armies clashed, friendships shattered, and the Republic died in screams, until Octavian, later known as Augustus Caesar, defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium, forcing them into suicide and crowning himself the first true emperor of Rome, bringing peace through control and launching the Pax Romana, an age of golden roads, towering aqueducts, organized law, and magnificent structures that made Rome seem eternal. But eternity never truly belongs to men, and slowly the emperors began to rot from within, none more terrifying than Nero, who ruled with madness and cruelty. And when the great fire of Rome consumed the city in 64 AD, many believed he watched it burn while dreaming of a new Rome, as he blamed Christians and fed them to beasts and flames, turning fear into daily life and death into public spectacle. Centuries later came Commodus, an emperor who abandoned the throne for the gladiator arena, fighting for cheers while the empire bled, while the Praetorian Guard sold emperors like merchandise, killing them at will, as loyalty disappeared and power became nothing more than coins in dirty hands. Then came Constantine the Great, who claimed to see a divine vision before battle, legalized Christianity, and moved the capital to Constantinople, unintentionally tearing the heart out of Rome itself, splitting the empire and weakening the West. And as the borders grew thin, the enemies gathered, the Visigoths, the Vandals, the Huns, watching and waiting, until in 410 AD the walls of Rome were breached and the unthinkable happened as the city was sacked, its people slaughtered, its temples looted, and its glory shattered. And finally in 476 AD, the last emperor Romulus Augustus was overthrown in silence, not in a grand explosion but in quiet humiliation, ending the Western Roman Empire, and proving to the world that even the mightiest power ever built can die slowly, not from one single blow, but from years of pride, corruption, betrayal, and decay. And still today, the ruins of Rome stand as a warning to every empire that dares to believe it is eternal.